Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? I'm Steve Stebbing.
And I'm Chloe Stebbing.
Here, the weekly rundown of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching, and we come at you every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on stevestebbing.ca. And last week, I teased our big film this week. Probably one of the most anticipated films of 2024. Also, one that maybe felt like a little bit of a gamble. But the good news is we both got to check this one out. It is Fresh for Your Eyeballs this week. And this week, well, let's just get right to it. It is the John Krasinski created universe through Brian Woods and Scott something. I don't know. I totally spaced on. It's the two guys that did 65 last year. This is A Quiet Place, day one.
A woman named Sam finds herself trapped in New York City during the early stages of an invasion by alien creatures with ultra sensitive hearing. Starring Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Alex Wolff. Written and directed by Michael Sarnowski.
And John Krasinski and Michael Sarnowski developed the story of this film together, and then Sarnowski wrote the script and directed this film. And Sarnowski is known for a film that he did with Nicolas Cage called Pig, which was one of the best films of that year. I want to say it was 2022 maybe. And Nicolas Cage is incredible. I don't know if you've had the chance to check that film out, but
I haven't, not yet.
it is like a I know you don't like revenge films, but it is at its heart a revenge film, with Nicolas Cage playing a former chef in Portland, that goes through on like kind of a rampage through the town to look for who kidnapped his truffle sniffing pig. And it is riveting. And it's Michael Sarnowski's only feature film leading up to this. I assume that film is what got him the job. But what his focus seems to be in this film is character and developing character in silence, which I thought was a really bold. But the only way that works is if you have actors that will be able to convey that. And Lupita Nyong'o is a proven actress. She's an Academy Award winner for her first film out of the gate, 12 Years a Slave. And I mean, she was incredible in Us. Like, I really,
Yeah,
really, really dig her as an
loved her in
actress.
that.
Yeah. And Joseph Quinn, I mean, we really only have Eddie from Stranger Things before this film. But I really think a film like this elevates him to the A-list. Like, he's going to be there so quickly. I was blown away by so many moments within the film. The first scene of rain,
Yeah.
um, that sequence, I was blown away by it. But yeah, the attention to detail in a largely silent film, I think, is amazing. You also get a really good look at these creatures better than you have before. Yeah, I really, really love this film. It might be my favorite in this franchise right now. Maybe it's just because it's so new to me, but that's where it sits.
Yeah, it's not my favorite in the franchise. That spot still goes to the first one. Um, but I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and my friend was telling me that it wasn't good and that the motivation was stupid. And after like that scared me hearing that because
Hmm.
he's typically a good gauge on these things. But after seeing it, I was like, dude, you're stupid. Yeah, like I fully understood the motivation. It's not
Hmm.
just about getting pizza.
No, no.
Um, and yeah, I loved the character development in this, uh, and it keeps the same tone that the other films draw you in with.
Yes.
And yeah, I love this film, and I'm excited to watch it again when it comes on streaming services.
Yeah. It's just like it's a beautifully crafted film. And it's hopeful in interesting ways as well. Um, and um, probably one of the best cat actors ever on screen.
Yeah, me and my partner were like, "That's a god kitty." We were calling him God Kitty because that's what I want in a cat. And so I'm looking at my own cats and I'm like, "Why can't you be more like that?"
It's yeah, because there's even character within Frodo the cat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am interested to watch it again because um there's a lot in the beginning that I think bookends with this film a lot. And but largely at the end of it, I will say this is a theater movie. You should see this in the theaters.
Yeah.
Sound design off the charts, soundless design off the charts. And I don't know that I think the peril is more relatable being thrust into the newness of this alien invasion.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely a very cool movie. Let's move on. Let's move on to some of the home discs. That's right. On the blue this week, and some of this was just me digging into my collection. I had I was in the throes of a cold last week, so I had a lot of time to sit and watch stuff. So I pulled something out of my Criterion collection. But this is now on 4K, and I've got to pull it to 4K and watch it for the first time. It is Time Bandits.
A young boy accidentally joins a band of time traveling dwarves as they jump from era to era looking for treasure to steal. Starring John Cleese, Shelley Duvall, Sean Connery, Katherine Helmond, Ian Holm, Michael Palin, Ralph Richardson, Peter Vaughn, and David Warner. Written and directed by Terry Gilliam.
And Terry Gilliam is a personal favorite. He's a filmmaker that I've basically categorized his pretty much all of his filmography into my favorites. Um, he did 12 Monkeys, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, The Fisher King, Brazil. I mean, Imaginary with Dr. Parnassus is probably one of his newer films. Um, just a lot of great films. Former member of Monty Python. And Time Bandits is a film that I haven't seen. When I said watching for the first time, I meant watching in 4K for the first time. I haven't seen this film in probably 25-30 years. But it is such a dark and wildly violent in certain ways for a fantasy a family oriented fantasy film. um but it holds up for me because Terry Gilliam is such an inventive director. All the cinematography is so like idiosyncratic to his own style. And he wrote this film with Michael Palin, so it does have that added um Monty Python flavoring to it. But largely, it's about a kid and a group of little people trashing through time, basically, to save the universe. And um, it's cool because Kenny Baker is in this, and Kenny Baker was R2D2. It was like the who's who of British little people at the end of the 70s, beginning of the
Okay.
80s. But it is a movie that is very indicative of its time. And Sean Connery, his scenes are so epic in this one, and I really enjoyed Sean Connery in his career when he was taking chances with like weird stuff. And that even lends to movies that I didn't get at the time that I watched it, but the cult stylings of it make it interesting, like a film like Zardoz. And this was in that decade period of him doing that film. So he was doing weird stuff. The only weird stuff I'm not into is when he did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because that was just pure garbage. That movie sucks. And it was his retirement film. Like he went out on this. Um, It's also interesting because Taika Waititi has adapted Time Bandits as a limited series for, I want to say it's going to be for Prime Video, which is on the horizon to be released. I want to say by the end of the year or the beginning of 2025. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of updates they're going to do on this story, because it's, I mean, at its heart, it's basically a kid that gets lost in time out of his own closet in his room. And it's just, it's whatever that, it's kind of like whatever, it's just like a wild kid's odyssey. So I hope that Taika Waititi does a good job with it, but the Terry Gilliam film is just almost perfect. So let's move on to another purchase I made. This film's a bit older, but it's part of my continued effort to buy all the Bong Joon Ho films. This is Mother.
A mother desperately searches for the killer who framed her son for a girl's horrific murder. Written and directed by Bong Joon Ho.
Yeah, so this is a film that I didn't in his collection that I didn't have yet, and one that I watched years ago when it came out, and I hadn't seen since. Have you seen Parasite, or
Yes.
you've seen The Host, right? As well, the
Yes.
monster movie one. So you
Yeah.
know Bong Joon Ho's work.
Yeah.
Have you seen Ocha, the one on Netflix with Jake Gyllenhaal? Where it's like a
I
hippo
don't think so.
creature.
No, I keep scrolling past it. I'm like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
I
And then
think you
keep
should watch.
scrolling.
You should watch it. I think
Okay.
you'll really dig that one. It's kind of wild. But this is, I think, another like Parasite, like Memories of a Murder, the much more grounded with kind of life satire in it. But Kim Hae Ja plays like an overbearing mother of a son who is like definitely should be on his own, but he's a little special, we'll say. And he's framed for murder and kind of sends her on this mission to prove his innocence, to sometimes bad degrees. And the dichotomy at the opening of this film has her just kind of dancing in a field, and it's just kind of light and soft and kind of
I
nice.
I think I've seen this. Is there a line in it where she's like, "Don't spawn on me like that"? Is
Yeah,
that this film?
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
like the
yeah.
one line that I remember from the movie.
But the one thing that I really find interesting is Bong's approach, because I mean, obviously there's a murder scene in this one and there's a dead
Hmm.
body. His approach to showing they're always all, because it happens in Memories of Murder too. The scenes are in broad daylight. The body is in a weird kind of draping position, or just like a weird position
Hmm.
entirely. He shoots it very statically. And I don't know, there's always such a clinical nature to it, but you still feel the weight of the situation. And
Yeah. Exactly.
this one's weird because the body's like kind of draped over a railing. And it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is one of his most underrated works in his filmography. And I don't think people talk about Mother enough. Because it's a fascinating film. It
Yeah,
really,
I remember watching it and being uncomfortable, but then being amused at the same time because there are funny elements in it, even though the story surrounding it is so dark.
well, especially even when he's getting kind of razzed by his buddy about his brother about the um have you slept with a girl before? And he goes, yeah. He's like, is it your mom? And he's like, yeah. I sleep with mom all the time. And it's just like his like, it's kind of sets him down that path of, well, I guess I need a girl,
Hmm.
right? And it sets him down a bad path, a path that gets him into trouble, right? Because he's tailing the girl that eventually gets killed. It's I found this kind of interesting. It, the Because of the phonetic differences before English and Korean before Mother and Murder, both Mother and Murder are spelled the same when translated to Korean characters. The movie title Medeo is a play on this, similarly suggesting both Mother and Murder.
Interesting.
It's just all those layers of depth to Bong's work. He's
Yeah.
just an incredible dude. So yeah, people should pay more attention to Mother. It's a great film. Next up, one that I got on Criterion recently, though the Criterion is a little bit older. It is another Olivier Assayas Criterion film. This is Carlos.
The story of Venezuelan revolutionary Ilic Ramirez Sanchez, who founded a worldwide terrorist organization and raided the 1975 OPEC meeting, starring Edgar Ramirez, written and directed by Olivier Assayas.
So essentially, this was a TV movie that was cut into a film. And then that's how it was distributed to us in North America. And Criterion has now made that, or not now, but in the last few years, made that into a Criterion Collection edition. Um, and I think it's also to have more of a complete collection of Assayas's work in the Criterion Collection, because Personal Shopper is Criterion, and I believe so is Clouds of Sils Maria, which are both incredible films that have Kirsten Stewart in them. But Personal Shopper is just probably one of my favorite films of the last 15 years or so. Like, it's a really, really solid film. But Carlos may be lead actor Edgar Ramirez's best performance of his entire career. He is so solid in this film, plays it with such conviction, and his work in this third act of this film, which is just got such a blistering intensity to it, is so fascinating to watch. And yeah, it was you can tell why it's Criterion. It has this whole kind of filter to it, this 1975 like grain and grit to it. The assassinations and terrorist acts are shocking and fast and furious, and yeah, it's a solid film. Really dug it, and first time watch for me, so I kind of bought it without even knowing. So dug it in the end. Yeah, I guess I'm all about art films this week, because the next one I teased it when I added it to the library, but now I've actually watched the film and I have some thoughts. This is John Sayles' City of Hope.
An intersecting tale with a multitude of characters living lives which, in one way or another, revolve around an old apartment block scheduled to be demolished. Written and directed by John Sayles.
And I mean, yeah, how it talks about being a multi-story thing, that's kind of the focus of this film. It's like kind of like a multi-mosaic, so many different character groupings of characters and separate storylines going on, and it almost plays like a stage play. Like, they're turning the lights on one side of the stage and that scene happens, and they just go back to another one, turn that on. Like, that's kind of how the dialogue moves, and everything, unless it's a walk and talk on the street, is all kind of grouped into that location. There isn't much change. And I don't know, like a lot of young versions of veteran actors we see today are in this one. Joe Morton's in this, I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. A really young Gina Gershon, Angela Bassett in a pivotal role in her young career, and Academy Award winner Chris Cooper shows up in this. And then David Strathairn, who is a personal favorite of mine for a long time, plays like the local crazy. He's just the guy that goes around like just shouting stuff the whole thing. He's definitely got some schizophrenia or maybe a vicious high level Tourette's. But his character play is really great into the final scene. But and it's just kind of like all the themes at the heart of this film, class strife, racism, homophobia, greed, corruption, all that kind of stuff, up to the city level. It's sad because this is telling a story about New York, and this is 1991, and we're what, 30, almost 35 years after that, and it's like it's only just turned up in volume. Like, if there's no change, you can try to be optimistic. There are points of this movie that's trying to be optimistic. The movie's called City of Hope,
Mm-hmm.
but 30 something years later, no, the hope might be even more faded. I don't even know if there is hope anymore. Like, it's kind of, especially a city like New York and what we know of New York. I've never been. I would like to experience New York for sure, just because of what it means to me cinematically and everything. Like, I have a certain, I guess, pop culture relevance of it all. Um,
Right.
but I don't think it's a great place for
Yeah.
any stretch of the
No.
imagination. This final one, I have some things to say about it. It is Joe Pickett complete series.
Follows a game warden and his family during a changing political and socio-economic climate in a small rural town. Starring Michael Dorman, created by Drew and John Eric Dowdle, also streaming on Paramount Plus.
And this one's a total cheat because this is not on the blue. This is only available on the DVD. So maybe I'll just get you to drop like a janky, stupid ass DVD title card right here.
Okay.
Yeah, I lied. DVD is janky. You look at DVDs now, especially on more heightened televisions, and you like when you watch a Blu-ray and then when you watch a DVD. Like I remember I bought Encino Man, Son-in-Law, and In the Army now because I went on a Pauly Shore kick. And when I put on Encino Man, I noticed how shit it looked. Like there's no way to say it. It looks shit. So, but at least this was made for a streaming service. So like the template is okay, so it's not as bad, but the show itself, I posted when I got this, that as I always do on my social medias, when I get things, I post it. And someone on my Facebook page said that they really dug this show. It was like their going to bed show that they'd watch every night until there was no episodes left, and they didn't know that it had been canceled. So I was like, okay, well, might look forward to this one. This show is so disappointing to the point of hilariously cheesy. And I mean, it's a show about a game warden, so it's a guy that has to, it's the main character has to deal with a lot of animals. Too bad that those animals are all CG for some reason, like deer and everything. Everything is CG, and like horribly so, like that even your DVD copy is not shading that at all. Like it's bad, janky movement, CG animals, every single one of them, and it's so corn dog. I can't even get into it. It's so hard to formulate any sort of attachment when it just the whole thing just feels so cardboard cutout, and it really kind of disappoints me because I like the Dowdles a lot. They did the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Okay.
Not that I like this more than the original, but they adapted Rec into Quarantine. Um, and they did the M. Night Shyamalan written elevator film Devil.
Okay.
And I want to say that one of them did as above, as below. And from at the last episode, I know that you're a big fan of that one. So I expected more from them, not something so blandly cookie cutter and so half-assed in doing that. I now own this series. I don't know when I'm ever going to go back and finish it though. Like I really don't. I don't have the drive to do it at this point, so not a fan. All right, so let's see what's available for y'all to stream in your house. That's right, the streaming pile. I've got a bunch of stuff this week that I got to check out. Um, the Disney hooked me up with a screener for this one. Hulu already got it earlier in June, but then Canada got it a couple weeks later. This is Bratz.
Centers on 1980s films starring the Brat Pack and their profound impact on the young stars' lives. Written and directed by Andrew McCarthy, available on Disney Plus.
And I'm an 80s obsessed guy. I love a lot of the films of the 80s. I love a lot of Brat Pack films. Um, a lot of John Hughes stuff. Like basically, like it was like part of my formative years in film. Um, so I feel like kind of like the target market for a film like this, and I'm such a sucker for documentaries about film. But I think more at its heart, Bratz is a method of catharsis and therapy for Andrew McCarthy. Um, who wrote and directed this film and spearheads it all, and the reunion with almost all of the Brat Packers. We're talking Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, and as well as some adjacent to the Brat Pack that might have been considered Brat Packs but wasn't. So like John Cryer, Leah Thompson, and a few others, and it really examines the article at the heart of it, which was one guy just based on one writer based on one hangout with the Brat Packers, labeled all of these actors into this category, which gave them the appearance of being entitled, lazy, only in it for the moment, like the connotation of the word brat in every word,
Right.
and not the glitz and not the work ethic of new people that are just new to the industry. And it ended up stunting a lot of their careers. Emilio Estevez completely resented the whole thing, and it blew, like, for whatever friendship that they did have, and it wasn't really a deep friendship, it was like a working friendship because they did St. Elmo's Fire together and a bunch of other films. It just kind of blew it apart that they really couldn't, they were turning down roles if one of the other members was in the film, just out of typecasting and everything. And that's really disappointing to see, especially because I come from a point that I thought the Brat Pack thing was an endearing thing for them. I didn't know it was held by them as such a negative connotation, to the fact that I was like, oh yeah, I really love all those Brat Pack movies and whatever, right? But I didn't know it was so hurtful to their psyches, to
Yeah.
be labeled as that. But at the end of it, I could have watched a whole hour more. Like, the movie, I think, is only about an hour and a half, but I could have watched way more if they wanted to do an expanded version of it. And it really just made me want to deep dive into 80s films and watch St. Elmo's Fire, watch Class, watch Weird Science, watch Pretty in Pink, or The Breakfast Club, which would be like the 100th time for me.
Yeah.
I've watched that movie so many times. But yeah, Bratz is an easy win for me, but I can see people coming away from it feeling like it's not exactly a full meal. All right, let's go to another streaming service for what feels like kind of the regular old rom-com. This is A Family Affair.
An unexpected romance triggers comic consequences for a young woman, her mother, and her boss, grappling with the complications of love, sex, and identity. Starring Nicole Kidman, Zac Efron, and Joey King. Directed by Richard LaGravenese. LaGravenese? It's available on Netflix.
Lagreveness. He is the guy that did P.S. I Love You in like the mid 2000s era with Gerard Butler and Hilary
Okay.
Swank, and it's a film that like enchanted the romantic drama slash comedy. Like, it was one of the big ones. Not to say it's an amazing film, but it was one of the big ones. So I think on that level, that name carries weight when you're getting into a romantic film like this is. And on the surface, this is like, it does feel like a been there, done that type of film, probably in reverse ways. But you have basically a mismatched age relationship with Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron that makes it complicated, because that's Joey King's boss, and really kind of feels like, yeah, I've seen this a million times, but with a good script, like a solid script, and these three actors, this film actually really, really works. I like Zac Efron quite a bit. Nicole Kidman is hit or miss here and there for me. But Joey King, we talked about Joseph Quinn being a guy that's destined for the A-list. I feel the same about Joey King as well. Maybe not as immediate as Joseph Quinn is, in my opinion, but I do think that King will become one of those Emma Stone type actresses. Um, I think she's at a good trajectory. I think the act had a lot
Yeah.
to do with it. Um, and so I think they make this film work. The age gap of Zac Efron and Nicole Kidman in real life is 20 years. In the movie, she says it's 16, but it's 20
Okay.
years. Just wanted to get that out there. It's 20 years. I don't know. In my opinion, it's kind of gross either way.
Yeah.
If it's a male to female or female to male in that age gap, it's just weird, and it's just like, what do you guys even talk about?
Yeah,
Like, where?
that's my biggest question. Like,
Yeah,
what movie do you guys go to see?
yeah.
Like,
What do you connect
I
on musically? What do you?
yeah,
I don't know. It's just what do you talk about? Like, how do you make conversation? I, it's just the things I have to say about it. So let's get into some series now, and I mean, we're talking most anticipated 2024 right now. So let's just get it right now. Season 3 of The Bear is now here.
a young chef from the fine dining world returns to Chicago to run his family's sandwich shop, starring Jeremy Allen White, Ebon Moss Bacharach, Ao Eddie Beery, Lionel Boyce, Liza Colin-Zayas, Abby Elliott, and Maddie Matheson. Created by Christopher Storer, available on Disney Plus.
And we've me and the wife have blown through the first 8. We have 2 left of this season, and like this is one of those most anticipated for 2024. There's no denying that. It is critically acclaimed. It is award laden at this point. It pulled so many awards, deservingly so. Um, and Of course, the internet chatter, because I didn't jump on right away with it. So it had been out for a couple days by the time I got to it. So the internet, of course, is calling it mid. And I don't know what show there's watching, because this show is still incredible, absolutely incredible. The first episode, one thing that bothers me is this show, when its awards are given for it, it's lumped in as a comedy drama. Episode 1 of season 3 is not comedy whatsoever. And is a lot of Carmy origin story, like backstory, like his culinary school story and his New York story. And I was so glued to it. It has this the score is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and it's just a driving force. And when the credits hit and Christopher Storer's name, who directs I think most of the episodes, uh when his name hit, I was just like, that was cinema. Like, this is it transcends television. Like, it's so, it's like little short films that are of an established canon. And I'm just blown away by it. But and then there's an episode that is completely based around Tina's character, called Napkins, episode 6, that is also kind of like a beef origin story for her. And I was floored by that episode. And then the director's name hit, and it was Ao Adibari who directed that episode. So I was like, God damn, like she's got this too. And then episode 8 is called Ice Chips, and might be one of the best episodes of television I have ever seen. Just so incredibly well done. And if Abby Elliott, who plays Sugar, Natalie, the sister, and Jamie Lee Curtis don't get nominated for many awards for this episode alone, then that system's broken, because it is intoxicatingly riveting television. I was
Yeah,
just so blown away by it.
I haven't started the new season yet. Um, I think simply because it's so emotionally taxing
It
to
is.
watch.
It is.
And I've just been trying to like get myself to be able to engage in that, because it's not like, okay, I'll just watch one episode. It's like, no, like you're sitting and watching all of them right now.
Yeah.
And it's a lot emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
intense. It's absolutely
yeah.
intense, and just beautifully, beautifully done.
Mhm.
And I'll also say that there's in that Tina episode, the actress that plays her, Lisa Colon Zayas, and John Bernthal, have a scene at the end of that episode that is like just a showstopper. Just holy shit, so well done. So well, it's just like two characters that needed to meet each other at that space and time and did, and it's like a perfect moment. Like so good. So hope I haven't oversold it, but I really 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 love that. All right, let's move on to some a little bit of reality stuff, kinda. This is Ren Fair.
When the ailing king of America's largest Renaissance festival declares his retirement, an epic power struggle ensues between an actor, a former elephant trainer, and a kettle corn kingpin to claim his throne. Written and directed by Lance Oppenheim, available on Crave.
And Lance Oppenheim is a documentary filmmaker that I really like. He did a like a documentary film about a retirement park in Florida. It's like Another Day in Paradise or something like that. I don't know. You'll find it and just pop it in right there. It's an excellent film, like a really, really great film. And also did a film that's on Hulu, or sorry, a Disney Plus for us recently called Sperm World. That's also really interesting. But Ren Fair is basically it's like Succession, but at a Ren Fair, like at a Renaissance fair. Because the king, the guy who's been in charge for a long time, the guy that's established it, this is like this is the top Renaissance fair in the world. He wants to retire. He's at the end of his life, he says, and he just wants to go to Europe and essentially get laid until he dies. He wants to die having sex. Like and they also have assisted suicide out there. So he just literally wants to end his life there. So now he's trying to find a successor. And so one of them is like the guy that does everything for him. Like the park would not run without him. He's the ass kisser though, and he's her sycophantic to the point where the king is like, ugh, like kind of like, get off me. Like you do everything for me, but you know. So probably not going to get picked. And then the other guy is like the master of the kettle corn, but he's also got these like business plans of like growing it. He's all about taking it into the future, bringing background technology into it, like just like really modernizing the Renaissance fair game. And I don't know, it's just kind of that's where the fascinating stuff is the battle for power and to make this hopefully make this park their own. But it also goes to I call it the A24 level because there's moments of like existential dissociation even within the first episode, like because the um the ass kisser guy, he goes to another Ren fair to like check it out and basically try to get intel to make their park better. But at the same time, he knows that if he leaves, then he is not there to puff up his own ranking in the king's mind and stuff. So he's going through these really like weird existential moments that they're able to capture. And I think that's just Oppenheim's ability to transcend what a documentary does. But either way, it makes me really, really interested to continue this series. I think it's only just going to be season one because with him wanting to commit suicide legally, of course, it sounds like that's like a finite end to the story. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to this little flighty little mystery series. This is The Big Door Prize, which is returning for a season two.
About the residents of a small town called Deerfield, who one day discover a magical destiny predicting machine in their grocery store. Starring Chris O'Dowd, created by David West Reed, based on the book by Emma Walsh, available on Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, and it's the book on which the show is based off contains a lot of references to the music of a music artist that was really revered. He was almost like kind of like a road poet. His name was John Prine. And the title is one of those references. And apparently Chris O'Dowd was a huge John Prine guy. So that I kind of leads to his involvement in this series. And I mean, he's a guy that's beloved in my household ever since I've discovered the IT crowd. He's one of my favorite UK comedy stars. And this is a series that feels refreshing because it is a mystery series that doesn't feel like it has like an impending doom to it. Instead, it is more of like an elation, giving people purpose, because basically this machine that this mysterious machine that's in this grocery store gives them like their horoscope, essentially their futures, their potential. And I think it's kind of like it's a positive sci-fi, and it makes you wonder. Yeah, it makes you think that, yeah, there is a lot more room for positive sci-fi in television watching and in movie watching these days. So the best thing about it is it's really high concept sci-fi, but surrounding a lot of lovable characters in a slightly comedic way. Like there is strife here and there, but it is handled in a good way. And kind of it's one of those shows, kind of like Ted Lasso, where it kind of leaves you with a smile. So I'm really happy to see season two, the return with season two. And it's one of those background Apple TV Plus shows that you're like, oh, that show's getting a season two, getting a season three. I totally didn't even know it existed. So yeah, Big Door Price is fun. All right, let's move on to gonna get some real life docu series here. This is Cult Massacre: One Day at Jonestown.
Exploring an idealistic religious movement led by Jim Jones, its utopian community in Guyana spiraled into a mass casualty event, leaving 918 dead. Told through survivors, it immerses in the final hours preceding this dark chapter. Directed by Marian Mohammed, available on Disney Plus.
And this is the cult thing that term "drinking the Kool-Aid" comes from, because Jim
Yeah.
Jones poisoned everybody with the Kool-Aid. I don't know how much you know about Jim Jones and the Jonestown Massacre. Um, it's a wild story, and I mean, if Nat Geo is going to do a real life docu series about this, you better believe I'm going to watch it. I dig all this kind of stuff, and especially at a time where we have a lot of people in the world that are easily led into things that probably should be labeled as cults. Um,
Yeah.
talking Q, we're talking Trump, we're talking Andrew Tate, we're talking Red Pill. This, like
Mhm.
all the things that aren't labeled as cults that really are cults at the end of it. But I'm so blown away that there was so much footage that they could use to make this very immersive documentary on, yeah, like a secret society that was stole away from, you know, essentially middle and southern America, and put into the jungle, for them all to commit suicide. Like it's just like a crazy story to know it existed. And it actually made me want to go back and watch the director of X, Pearl, and upcoming Maxine, Ty West. He did a film, I want to say 2014 or 2015, called The Sacrament, which is loosely the Jonestown Massacre. Uh, it had to be a little bit taken a little bit from that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I dug I'm a couple episodes in, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I watched Waco around the time that it came out.
Oh yeah.
That was a hard hitter, so I'll probably check this one out as well. It's in like a true documentary format though, right? Because
Yes,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure Waco was like
Is
kind of
yeah, it's a reenactment series.
yeah.
Funny enough, the John Eric and Drew Dowdle did the Waco, who I
Oh,
talked
okay.
about earlier with Joe Pickett. Yeah, they did Waco.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did good on that one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. All right, so finally, for streaming this week, Blood of Zeus is coming out with season 2. I got to look at season 1, but here we go.
A commoner living in ancient Greece, Heron discovers his true heritage as a son of Zeus and his purpose to save the world from a demonic army. Created by Charlie and Vlas Parlapanides, available on Netflix.
This is what I call North American anime. That this series kind
Yeah.
of has that look to it. Much because of the shows that you bring to this show is why I put it on my radar to check out. Um, I was always into Greek mythology. I mean, as a kid, I mean, I did book reports for school about it and everything, and it was always like been an interest to me. So that's why I was drawn to this one. Uh, th- there's some liberties that I felt that are really kind of taken with this, and I'm really not super digging it. It kind of reminds me of Castlevania, which is arguably a better show in my opinion. Um, but the voice cast is solid because you got likable actresses that are like on screen actresses like Jessica Henwick for the Matrix Resurrections and Sense 8 and the Royal Hotel. Also Mamie Gummer is in this. And then you have known voice guys like the current one of the current Batmans, Jason O'Mara does a voice in this. Chris Diamantopoulos, who's in Invincible, and then like a sci-fi guy like Elias Toufexis is in this, and a complete video game legend is in this show, Jennifer Hale. And being a Mass Effect guy, I'm like Jennifer Hale fanboy for sure. But I feel it's kind of like shallow and paint by numbers at times, and that takes me out a bit. And I don't know. I don't need an invented human conduit for the story. They could have just used Perseus or something like that and told that story. Um, but I don't know. Maybe I need to get further in it. It was obviously good enough to earn a season 2, so maybe I just need to continue. All right, that brings us well to the end, unless we have any objections coming through.
Yeah, I got a couple butts.
You got two butts.
Yeah,
She's got two butts.
well, three butts, I
Three
think.
three butts. Three butts.
Three butts. Okay, so I guess I'll bring up the thing that I'm bringing this week. Good old trash reality TV. It's called Caught in the Act, Unfaithful. Host Tammy Roman sets out on a mission geared at empowering suspicious lovers and catching their cheating partners while in the middle of the act. So,
didn't they,
Tammy,
didn't they make this show and it was called Cheaters?
maybe.
I think there is a show called Cheaters. I'm pretty sure. But
This
anyway.
is very recent. This is 2022.
Okay, good.
That's when the second and seemingly final season came out. Um, so, yes, Tammy is contacted by individuals who believe that their partners are cheating on them. And so Tammy, with her crew, sets up
The Sting.
she has PIs that'll go and follow them for like 3 days or something, and like record them and like follow them into places and whatever. Um, and then they show the footage to the individual that initially contacted her, and then they watch it and they start freaking out. Like some of them have like thrown everything off the table, tried to like break down like all the furniture in her studio. Like some of them just go absolutely insane. Um, and and then the individual has the choice to either team up with the individual who their partner is cheating on them with, or perform a takedown where they just go and ambush them when they're out together. They all choose takedown. Every single one of them has chosen takedown. Um, and it's just crazy. It's entertaining. It's really classic trash TV, and I love it. A lot of people don't. It has a 4.3 on IMDb.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Ooh.
But it makes me laugh. Makes me feel better about myself. And yeah, it's entertaining. That's it.
Well, I will say that Jen got addicted to Catfish while I was at the
Yeah, I've been
film
watching that
festival.
too.
While I was at the film festival last year, and I was like, because I'm usually in control of what we're watching,
Hmm.
and yeah, watched a whole shitload of Catfish. So no judgments.
Yeah. Well, I got into this because I was watching Ink Master, but there's only two seasons on Prime. So I was like, "Oh, I'll just see what else is here," and I found this, and I'm glad I did. So
Beauty, beauty. All right, you got your trash TV out.
Yeah. So the other thing was Mad Max. I saw Fury Road.
Yes. Okay. And you're
Yeah.
so you're yeah, you're 9 years after in preparation for Furiosa. So
Yes.
how does this movie work with you?
I enjoyed it. I thought I was going to. I knew I was going to. Tom Hardy is, Tom Hardy, so that's always enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the the milking harem for some reason was really funny to me, even though it's so messed up.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of large ladies just getting milked all the time. Um, but yeah, I liked it. The explosions and the action was really good. Acting, of course, great.
Nice. And remember, George Miller was in his was like in his yeah, just 71 at that time when he made that film.
Wow.
That was a 71-year-old man that made that film. And he's made every one of these Mad Max stories since 1978.
Hmm.
Yes, I mean
Yeah, that's
1979.
crazy.
Yeah. Like this is his vision, this is his world. Nobody else has touched it. It's his world. So now this movie under your belt, you're Furiosa will be the next, right?
Yes.
Yes. And that's like you're more pumped to see that now, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
What how willing are you to go back to the other three?
Mildly
Mildly.
willing.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. It I don't really feel like I'm missing much. I
Hmm.
mean, maybe after watching Furiosa, I'll get like a little kick
Hmm.
to do so, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
I don't you don't have the Ozploitation bug like I do.
No.
Nope. And I'm forcing this button. You said you had a third butt. I'm forcing this one. So, your thoughts on Monkey Man?
That was the butt. Um yeah, I thought that movie was beautiful. It was an extremely well done movie, and very surprising that it was Dev Patel's first directing and writing. Didn't he
Yeah,
write
he
that
wrote
as
that one
well?
as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the the underground community was just. I think it was my favorite part,
Hmm.
was learning about the underground community and all the people in it, and yeah, and like the beautiful like red like ending scene where they're
Hmm.
all dressed in red. And you said that that's filmed on an
On
iPhone.
his
Like,
iPhone.
that's insane. That's
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
yeah. It's some of the best cinema I've seen all year.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
pure perfection. When I did my After the Credits podcast, it was my number 5 film of the year. Just an incredible piece of cinema. So I knew you wanted to get your thoughts out on it, so I'm glad you did. All right, so let's get an idea what I'm going to talk about next week. Let's rate The Taste of Next Week. This is a film that I've been looking forward to for a long time. I talked about it a little bit last week with Jeff Nichols. Shotgun Stories hitting Blu-ray for the first time, and it's his new film, The Bike Riders. I mean, the cast in this, we've already talked about Tom Hardy once. He's in this one. The probably one of the hottest actors on the planet right now, Austin Butler, is in this one in the lead. Jodie Comer is in this. Norman Reedus is in this one under a lot of makeup. He looks
Yeah.
dirty and weird in this one, and I'm so down.
Did
Uh,
I also see that Melissa McBride is in it as well? I
I'm
feel
not
like
too
she was on the
sure.
screen for a very split second.
I'm not too sure. I will tell you once I see this film. But I'm so psyched for this film. Michael Shannon's this one. Michael Abbott Jr. Um, yeah, I am so into this film. It's my type of film. And so yeah, I'm really excited for that one. So that is all next week, and that brings us to the end of this week's episode. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at the Stevel Dead.
You can find me on Letterboxd at HoneyBunChloe.
And you can find all of these episodes at stevestebbing.ca. If you're on the YouTube page, Steve Stebbing, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find these episodes on shiftheads.ca, and you can search up Shift Heads on Facebook. And you actually can search up my name, Steve Stebbing, on Facebook as well, and give me a good old like there. And that's it from us. We've emptied out our list. We've got to fill it up again. So until then, bye bye.